Now, Africa Oil Week 2021 has seen a participation of over 1,500 attendees from around the world. The four-day event that kicked off in Dubai this week was for the first time held in the United Arab Emirates. And there are more than 30 heads of government departments in attendance from the African continent and the Middle East. Attendees include high-level delegations and executives from some of the biggest global oil and gas companies. But beyond the prestigious event and high-level delegations, what is Africa Oil Week about? And most importantly, how has the discovery of oil in Africa transformed the economic conditions on the continent? Paul Sinclair is the Vice President of Energy and Director of Government Relations for Africa Oil Energy Series, and he joins us now virtually from the UAE. Paul, good morning. Thanks so much for speaking to us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So let's start at the beginning, just for those who still may not be aware and don't know, Africa Oil Week, what is it about and what led to it being held in Dubai this year?
Yeah, sure, it'd be a pleasure. Africa Oil Week is originally the largest upstream oil and gas event for the African continent. And the focus is on developing capital, deal flow, M&A in the oil and gas sector, to develop the social and economic development of the continent, and to obviously support international investors with a vehicle to coming onto the continent to meet the right people, the right state, local businesses or African governments. So that's really the way it started. The value proposition is project origination for the international private sector coming in. And obviously my passion and my drive is to support the continent in a bridge to deal flow and capital flow to expand their E&P sector. Subsequently, the market has changed considerably with the onset of COVID. The energy transition and the Paris Agreement has been accelerated somewhat. So Africa Oil Week now has a really strong focus on a sister event, which is focusing on the energy transition and how we can reduce energy poverty for Africa via foreign direct investment and capital inflows onto the continent. So it's been a very successful event, as you say, over 1,500 attendees, 50 heads of government, and it really has started the dialogue for Africa post-COVID on a recovery for the continent.
So, Paul, and you did touch on the COVID situation in terms of the markets changing, but how exactly has it changed? You know, I think of what we're dealing with in South Africa and, excuse me, the oil prices, I mean, skyrocketing at the moment, and we feeling it at the pumps. So just generally, if you think of, you know, the changes that have been necessitated, how has it impacted the oil markets?
Well, I think the global markets as a whole have felt a seismic change in the way that we're all operating, irrespective of oil and gas. Whatever sector you're in, COVID's had an enormous impact on the way we all live. Excuse me, on the way we all live, on how we operate, and how our businesses have to re-establish themselves in new modes of business. So it has impacted us. In terms of the oil and gas sector, it's still a huge opportunity for Africa. People talk about oil dependency, but for Africa, but the world now has still got legacy infrastructure that will require oil and gas and the development of oil and gas. And Africa is still widely seen as one of the key destinations for that. I don't think the energy transition, anybody's expecting anything overnight. So Africa can play its part in energy security for today. And from what I'm understanding from all of the ministers that I'm talking to and all the heads of government, as you said, 50 of them, Africa is very much committed to the energy transition as well. So it's about developing that balanced energy mix, both domestically, whilst having the opportunity to develop fields in oil and gas and export as well for sovereign receipts.
Paul, how many oil producing states do we have on the African continent, and what is the revenue generated by our oil resources here on the continent?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of numbers now, you said reporting straight from Dubai. I've just stepped off the plane from Dubai, so I don't have those figures in front of me right now. But what I can say is, producing companies have been at Africa Oil Week, and the producers were with us as well. And the commitment to developing sustainable and equitable production on the continent, gives value to Africa and Africans by generating those revenues, going into value addition, going into local content as well to expand the private sector. Every single government and company that I'm speaking to is committed to those things. And I think that's really dwelling on those points of local content and value addition, where Africa can benefit from these natural resources.
And always, I guess, the man on the street wants to know, how has this benefited me? You know, how does my country and continent's oil reserves and any other minerals, how do those benefit me? In terms of the welfare of African societies and especially the oil-producing nations, how has that situation improved? Because if you look at the UAE as an example and, you know, how they have managed to expand from where they were several decades ago, what have we learned as a continent from that, and how are our communities benefiting from our oil reserves in general?
Yeah, and I think good things come from difficult scenarios, and I think the fact that we had to move to Dubai this year, but for this year, it opened new doors, it opened new opportunities, and I think it's not about dwelling on the past about why other countries have maybe gone on a different trajectory of growth on the basis of oil and gas. It is about what we can learn. And having something like Africa Oil Week is critical. So it's not only about foreign direct investment and M&A, in fact. It's about knowledge exchange. It's about developing new ideas. It's about structuring new policy and regulation. So the benefactors of the oil and gas sector are the people themselves of each individual country. And I think that's one of the things that came out in the ministerial meeting when we met with the minister from the United Arab Emirates is we want to work on these things. EITI want to work on these things. Policy makers and regulators want to change so that we do see more beneficiation for local people in their local markets, the development of the private sector to create jobs, to create wealth. So I think it's not an African thing, it's a global thing. It's about evolution. It's about how we're learning from the people that have made the largest strides in the market and adapting our own situation to ensure that we do benefit our people. And I must say, all credit to all of the governments that came to Africa Oil Week, the passion that they showed to develop oil, gas and energy projects to reduce energy poverty and to increase jobs and wealth development via these sectors is incredible. It's unprecedented. And that's the beauty of Africa Oil Week. This is where Africa can grow. This is where the conversation is. And in answer to your question, I see considerable benefit to all of the countries that came through foreign direct investment and also the value addition and local content conversations that we're having. So I see a very bright future for all of the countries that attended.
To that point, this is, of course, the 27th year, the 27th edition of Africa Oil Week. The organizers, obviously, you guys say that you believe that this will serve as a platform to fuel future partnerships that can result in additional high-value deals in the energy sector. So what kind of deals have come out of these events previously that are noteworthy, and what kind of deals are you looking at in this current event that perhaps is something to crow about?
Yeah, so in terms of the deals, what you have to remember is we're the event organizer, and I'm not at liberty to obviously disclose what deals are done from different companies that have attended Africa Oil Week and that have come out of Africa Oil Week. But we know for a fact that the value of Africa Oil Week and why people return is because deals are done. It's not a talk shop, it's not fanfare, it's not a political rally, it is a deal-making platform. And for 27 years, I think that those 27 years are testament to the power and the value that it brings both for government and the private sector. So, it's very difficult to put a figure on the question that you posed, but I think the longevity of the event speaks for itself, because without value, no one would return. So I think therein lies the answer to that question.
Well, Paul Sinclair, thanks so much for your time. Vice President of Energy and Director of Government Relations for Africa Oil Energy Series, speaking to us from the UAE and discussing Africa Week event currently underway in Dubai. And this, of course, in relation to the importance of oil in the development of our continent.